I've been primarily shooting on the LUMIX S5iiX for the past year, and in this video I'm going to give you guys 10 of my favorite features of this camera, starting with reason number 1, which is extensive recording options. Now, this camera has a plethora of recording options, all the way from Apple ProRes internally to 1080 120 frames a second. There's 6K open gate, there's 5.7K, Cine 4K, and the list goes really on and on. Not only that, there's also 422 and 420, mostly all in 10-bit options, which is kind of ironic. It's really hard to find an 8-bit option inside this camera. And on top of the extensive recording options, going on to my second feature, which is open gate recording. Now, if you don't know what open gate recording is, it's basically using the entire sensor, which is in a 3x2 format, to record your footage. Now, this is an open gate 6K 24 frames and 30 frames a second inside this camera, which is great if you're needing horizontal or vertical crops for your social media. Now, this is also could be used in anamorphic and on anamorphic lenses and de-squeezing it, but personally the way I use open gate recording is for vertical and horizontal filming at the exact same time. Now, using open gate recording comes my third favorite feature, which is frame markers. Frame markers are essential whenever you are shooting vertical or horizontal content and you want to see what you're framing up. Now, there is a plethora of different frame marker options from 16:9, 9:16, 4:3, and the list goes on and on. But this is essential whenever I'm filming videos for horizontal and vertical use, and I'm using it in part with either doing open gate recording or I'm filming 4K 60 frames and I want to see what my vertical crop would be. Now, my fourth favorite feature is customizing the FN function buttons. Now, the buttons all throughout the entire camera can be customized to your heart's content. So I have my entire dial, my display, I have all my buttons customized to a certain way that works for my workflow and how I use this camera. So I can quickly pull out all my recording quality features. I can turn on my stabilization, I can turn on my peaking, I can turn on and off my waveforms and vector scopes. All of these buttons can be extremely customizable to certain things that you need. So when you're on set and you're shooting and you want to pull up all your record settings, you can press one button and it'll show just your list. Or if you want to see your vector scope or waveforms, you can pull that up in a second. You want to turn on your stabilization on and off. This makes it so much easier than having to go into the menu systems and seeing what the camera has inside the menu systems. They're just quick function buttons that makes your job and makes your workflow a lot faster. Now, my fifth favorite feature on the LUMIX camera is going to be recording to an SSD. When I'm recording anything or long form podcasts or recording all day and don't have the time available to change my SD cards, or I'm recording Apple ProRes, I'm going to be recording to an SSD. Now, I do use the Condor Blue top handle SSD, and that thing is insanely nice, but it's really nice to have all your footage go to an external SSD that you can plug straight into your computer, edit off, or just dump the footage a lot faster than an SD card would. Just a quick little interruption before I get on to my next 5 favorite features on this LUMIX S5iiX. If you've been enjoying this content and other content on my channel, you should definitely consider subscribing. I make all things LUMIX content related here on this channel. Anyways, I'll let you get back into the next reason. Now, feature number 6 is shutter angle. Shutter angle makes this extremely fast if you are switching between 4K 24 frames a second, 30 frames a second, 48 or 60 frames a second, switching between your different frame rates, and having shutter angle being 180 degrees makes your workflow a lot faster, especially when you're changing different frame rates and not having to change your shutter at any time. There's a lot of situations in the past when I first started out filmmaking and I changed from 24 frames a second to 60 frames a second, and I didn't change my 1/50th shutter to 1/120th of a shutter. That's where shutter angle comes in so clutch. Being able to just set it to 180 degrees and basically leave it and forget it makes it so much easier of a workflow when you're changing frame rates throughout the shoot. Feature number 7 is importing custom LUTs. Now, the nice part about LUMIX cameras is you can import your own custom LUTs into this camera and use them as viewing LUTs. Now, the great part about using these as viewing LUTs, and for myself, I'm using the classic teal and orange LUT that you're looking at right now. The great part about it is you can customize your white balance and your tints inside the camera while viewing the LUT that you're going to be using in post. This just makes your workflow so much faster when you're inside the camera, being able to change your white balance, being able to change your colors and tints. It's going to allow your workflow a lot faster in post when you've already manually did the changes inside the camera, and it'll make the color correction process a lot easier when you're importing your own custom LUTs that you use with your camera. Now, if you do like the color of this video, I do have my own LUTs available in the link in the description, and that's what I do. I view my LUT, I customize my white balance and tint in camera if I need to, and then when I import the LUT on my clip in post, it's almost 80% done, just adding a couple little bit of a contrast and an S-curve, and I'm able to call it a day. Reason number 8 is Frame.io and Proxies integration into this camera. Now, recently with the firmware update, LUMIX, you are able to record proxies simultaneously with your footage, but this is only in 4K 24, 30, and 60 frames a second. It records your proxies onto a separate SD card, either in high, medium, or low quality, and you can have a real-time LUT baked in and have that either be turned on and off, and then have your normal footage be untouched in the normal vlog color profile. Now, the great thing about this on top of that is the Frame.io integration. In real time, you can have your proxies on your camera right when you hit record, and right when you stop recording, it will be sent automatically to Frame.io based off your Wi-Fi connection, which is huge for people that have same day edits, they're a wedding filmmaker, or you just want to send your photos, your JPEGs, and you can have your client see your photos in real time, or have an editor edit those photos in real time. This Frame.io integration is going to be huge for filmmakers and photographers in the future. My 9th favorite feature is real-time LUT. Now, there is different reasons why I love real-time LUT as a photographer versus a videographer. Starting off as a photographer, I took a bunch of photos in my natural color profile setting. I put them in DaVinci Resolve, color graded them how I wanted to color grade them, and I exported that as a LUT, imported the LUT into my camera, and I was able to use that with combination of real-time LUT to make my photos look amazing with how I liked them color graded right out of camera. The way to use LUTs on your photos is you use a custom photo mode, not the real-time LUT profile picture mode, but a custom photo mode. You have your natural settings or standard settings, depending however you like it, and you import your LUTs based off that. So I have my own set of LUTs that I've been developing and working on for my photos. So whenever I shoot photos, I can change whatever LUT I want them. Maybe it's teal and orange, black and white, filmic, whatever those types of photos and LUTs I want for my photos, I will be able to change that on the fly within the camera itself. Now for video, it's a little bit different. The way I like using real-time LUT with my videos is actually using the proxy. So whenever I'm shooting 4K, 24, or 60 frames a second, I can have to a second SD card record my proxies on the SD card. Now the way to do this is using real-time LUT. You'll turn it on to your camera custom picture profile, and then you go down, select your LUT, and then there's a little dial to turn your real-time LUT on and off. So I turn it off on the high quality footage, and then I go over to the proxy settings and I turn it on in the proxy settings. Now this is a little bit of a complex workflow, but it's pretty easy once you get your hands on the camera and actually do it. But with that, my proxies will have my real-time LUT footage baked into it, while my normal high quality footage will have my real-time LUT turned off. Now the great part about this is for social media quick turnaround time videos in real time, I can edit those proxy videos or send those proxy videos to my client because they're already in 1080, they're a high quality 1080 file with the LUT baked in, and they'll look great for social media. Meanwhile, I still have the high quality footage for myself to edit, color grade, and make and tweak them to have a more finalized product for my client. And lastly, my 10th favorite feature is the stabilization. Now, LUMIX has been known to having the best image stabilization on the market, but they just went a step further with their electronic stabilization. They used to just have it be an on and off switch, which gave you pretty decent looking stabilization, but they just recently added the standard and high electronic stabilization. Now, the standard stabilization has around a 1.1x crop on it, while the high stabilization has about a 1.45 crop on it, which isn't a huge crop in terms of the stabilization performance that you're getting out of this camera. So if you're a travel filmmaker or a run and gun filmmaker and you don't have a gimbal, this is amazing. This stabilization is getting pretty nuts. With smooth ninja walking and slow movements, you can get almost gimbal-like stabilization out of this full frame camera, which is kind of crazy to say. Now, something I said in the past and I still stand by is that LUMIX cameras are kind of like in the early stages of the early stabilization that of GoPro cameras, which is kind of crazy. Not only was it their Micro Four Third cameras, but now their full frame cameras stabilization is nuts. Hey, really quick, I'm gonna pause my recording, but if you could tell my camera and my audience what's one of the best features on the LUMIX S5iiX, that'd be great.
I just think the image, and it doesn't even need to be the X, it could be the regular 2. But yeah, probably the image and the IBIS, the 2 eyes.
Now this stabilization just came from a recent firmware update on the S5 II and 2X. You can check out my video on it right here. And then YouTube recommends you might like this video right here. Until the next one, guys, peace.